Let's discuss some Delta Blues and all analog pressing, originally put out in 1964. Yep, let's go. Everybody, thanks for joining. I really appreciate it. My name is Mark, and you found your way over to the Modest Audiophile channel. Thank you. Yes, today we're going to talk about another Analogue Productions release. This time, Muddy Waters Folk Singer. Yeah, 33 1/3 RPM, not the 45 RPM. Now, what we'll do is we'll briefly talk about why I got the album, a little bit of the background, and then who plays on it, how it sounds, and get you out of here, okay? All right. So first thing is first, let's talk about why I got this. Well, about a month and a half ago, there were a couple records that came up for sale, or I noticed that I wanted to scratch an itch. Heard so much about them that I'm like, well, let me go out and get these and see if the hubbub is all real. Last week I did a video on Alice Cooper's Nightmare on Elm Street. Nightmare on Elm Street, whew. Last week I did a video on Alice Cooper's Welcome to My Nightmare, which sounds extraordinarily good from a soundstage and imaging perspective. Check it out if you haven't seen it yet. And then the second of the three albums that I purchased was, yes, Muddy Waters Folk Singer, an all-acoustic recording session in 1963, September of 1963, and this thing was released in 1964 on Chess Records. More on that in a second. So, just like every other Analogue Productions, the packaging is second to none. So you got an absolutely fantastic cover, great gatefold, I can see that there. The back, you've got a nice write-up on it. So what I'll do next is we'll go through a couple of the credits on this album, and then, like I said, we'll talk about how it sounds, because really that's what we're here for, right? Also, what came inside this album, not a lot of candy, but enough of it, and it was really good. So what we got is a Muddy Waters Folk Singer write-up, and then on the other side, a fantastic picture. And I'll put this picture up here while I'm talking about this as well. All right, so some of the credits go on this album. Like I stated earlier, it was recorded in September 1963 at Telmar Studios, which was owned by the Chess Brothers. In fact, it was named after their sons, which I believe were Terry and Marshall. Yes, that's correct, Terry and Marshall. This was mastered at Bernie Grunman Mastering. The lacquer was also cut by Bernie Grunman. And it was pressed by QRP, Quality Record Pressings. So let's talk about who played on this, and then we'll get into how it sounds, okay? So who played on this thing besides Muddy? Well, Muddy was 50 years old in 1963 when this was recorded. You also have Buddy Guy, who just turned 27. I don't even think he had a record contract at the time. Anyway, very young Buddy Guy. On drums, we have a 26, soon-to-be 27-year-old Clifton James. And the bass player on this album was none other than Willie Dixon at a spry 48 years old. Now, as far as what they played, I might as well go into some of that, right? Because there's not a lot of instrumentation here. So, Muddy Waters played a 1959 Martin double-aught 18E acoustic electric guitar, which was his weapon of choice for both this album as well as the 1968 Newport Folk Festival. The Martin now resides at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame Museum in Cleveland, Ohio. As far as Buddy Guy goes, he played, evidently he didn't show up with an acoustic guitar, or he didn't own an acoustic guitar at the time of this recording. According to sources, at the time of the recording, Buddy didn't own an acoustic guitar, a notion that is highly probable since his reputation had been primarily built on his electric prowess. Supposedly, Muddy Waters lent him one of his archtops for the recording session. Although that cannot be confirmed as fact, the source here can confirm that the guitar in question is a K model K1 jumbo archtop circa 1955. Meanwhile, Willie Dixon was playing this upright bass, picture here somewhere. In this one, in this bass currently resides in the Blues Heaven Museum. So, how does this thing sound? So first off, let me say this. This album is just extremely intimate. This is a really, really good recording, which I guess was pretty rare for a blues artist. Now, I'm starting to dip my toes in the waters of jazz and all of that. I've got Miles Davis kind of blue and all of that on 45 RPM, and yeah, that's pretty darn quiet. I guess the jazz artists at the time were not trying to churn these things out as much, or anyway, I've heard that there are far more audiophile recordings of jazz artists as opposed to older blues artists. So I guess one of the things that's remarkable about this recording is that it really stands up really, really well to those jazz artists. All right, so like I said, this is an intimate sounding album. In fact, all apart from the last song on the album, I'll give you the soundstage right now and who's playing what and where. In the center, you've got Muddy, right, playing mostly slide and his vocals. On the right-hand side of the soundstage is Buddy Guy with his acoustic guitar, or I guess Muddy's acoustic guitar. And coming on the left side of the soundstage, when the instruments are there, you do have the bass and the drums. A couple of songs that we'll go through here in a few minutes, you just have Muddy and Buddy. And one song, the last song on this album, is just Muddy Waters all by himself. Some of the words that came to mind while listening to this: warm, natural sounding, full, punchy, delicate and powerful at the same time. You can hear a pin drop, you can hear creaking noises of the chairs that the players were sitting in. You can hear tapping on the guitars, tapping on the floor with their feet to keep time. It's, like I said, a very intimate album, and you can hear everything in this recording. As far as the soundstage and imaging, it's fantastic. In fact, most of the time, you're getting a soundstage, which in my space here, my speakers are 8 feet apart, and I'm sitting over here 8 feet away. So if you see over here, the wall to the left of my speaker is about, 4 feet or so. Most of the time, the soundstage is delivering from within this room, right? From 4 feet left or right, left of the left speaker, 4 feet right of the right speaker. However, there are a couple tunes in which more instrumentation comes in, and that soundstage will expand a little bit further on those songs. So it can go anywhere from, say, 4 feet to maybe 5 plus. As far as the height goes on the soundstage, the vocals and other instrumentations that are coming out on the higher side are coming out right around 3.5, 4 feet above the tweeters on the speakers. So soundstage is great. Imaging is top notch. Imaging is spot on. Frankly, it's ridiculous how tight the imaging is on this, and we'll do that on we'll go through that a little bit further on some of the songs that I want to call out. I did a couple decibel checks on 2 songs on this, both on the first side. The first dB check was on song number 3 on the first side, called My Captain, and the low end was 44 decibels, high end was 94 decibels, and the average was 66. And it sounds a lot louder than the 66 average, that's for sure. It really projects well. The sound, the vocals, the instruments project extremely well in this space. I did one more dB check, and that was, I think, on the last song on side 1, You Gonna Need My Help. And this one had a low end of 49 decibels, a high end of 95 decibels, and an average listening of 75 decibels. So let's start off with side 1. First of all, as I put this picture of the album here, or of the actual record itself, I just love the Chess Records label. This looks fantastic. The reproduction that Analogue Productions did, I thought, was fantastic on this. All right, so side 1, first song, My Home is in the Delta. This is a classic Delta blues song. You can hear the pin drop, you can hear the the chair squeaking. You can hear the subtle knocking on the lower bout of the guitar, whether he's keeping time or he's using it as percussion. The slide, and this is I'll mention this several times. The slide, you're hearing the strings quiver and scratch underneath the slide itself. Just remarkable how clear these songs project into your listening space. Really fantastic. My Home is in the Delta. What a great way to start this album. Second song is Long Distance. I put Muddy's vocals are so powerful. Throughout this whole album, he really utilizes his vocals as a completely another instrument. Really hard for me to articulate that, but yeah, give this a listen, and the dynamic range really on this album is accentuated, or derivative of Muddy's vocals. You can get really low whispering, and then in the next line or the next word, he'll blow you out of the room with the volume of the vocals coming through. Fantastic. I just put great presence, especially on that line. One of these days, he just boom, the word one echoes throughout your listening space. Great slide on this thing. You can see it with your mind's eye. Heck, I mentioned this in other reviews as well. The guitar, his guitar is right here in the middle of the room. You can smell that acoustic guitar, right? For those who play acoustic guitar, you know the smell. Put your nose in the sound hole. That's the vibe you're getting with Muddy right away in this record. You can hear the fingers sliding gently up and down the fretboard, trying to get ready for that next hand placement. This literally is sounding like it's in the room, and you're in a bunch of chairs sitting around each other. Really great projection in the soundstage. And the third song on this album is a song called My Captain. In this case, it's only Muddy and Buddy playing. There is no drummer and there is no bass player here. Willie Dixon actually wrote this song. Muddy wrote the majority of the songs on this album. I'll call out songs that were written if they were written outside of Muddy. So in this case, it was Willie Dixon. Once again, I put, you hear everything. You hear the toes tapping in the center of the space, the center of your image, and that's Muddy, keeping time, right? Because you don't have a drummer, you don't have a bass player. Muddy's tapping that floor with his feet. You can hear it plain as day, like you're sitting from me to the camera away from these guys in their chairs playing the guitars. Great stuff. I put Muddy's accompaniment, the single notes and the tapping is just weaving really well with Buddy's guitar playing, and obviously his vocals as well. Great. I put just excellent song. This was a really, really fun listen. There's a couple more songs coming up where it's only Buddy and Muddy as well. So My Captain, really, really good song. All right, we leave that. We go to the fourth song called Good Morning Schoolgirl. This is a familiar groove that you've heard before. In fact, this is probably one of the songs, right, that really influenced a lot of the British invasion or American acts at the time that were starting out in the mid to late 60s. Like I said, it's got a nice groove. It's got that blues and rock and roll influence. Some of the, apart from Muddy who covered it, some of the other artists at the time that have covered this song, there's Eric Clapton and the Yardbirds. You had Keith Richards getting together with Buddy Guy and Les Paul, and they did a version of this. Johnny Lang's done a version of this. The Grateful Dead on their first album, Pigpen, sang this song. Rod Stewart has done this song. Johnny Winter has done this song. The Allman Brothers, 10 Years After, etc., etc., etc. So you might not have heard this version of the song, but you've heard a derivative of this song for sure. And this version is fantastic. A nice acoustic version of it. The whole band is getting in on this, and it sounds fantastic. You know, all four members playing in it, and this is one of those songs that opens up the soundstage a little bit wider. And the interplay between the instruments is fantastic. All right, and then we're going to go on to, I believe, the last song on side one, which is called You Gonna Need My Help. First thing I put on here, and again, it's another one with all four band members, I put So Much with So Little. So much with so little on this. You get the slide in the center to start, then the rest of the band folds in. Buddy Guy comes in next with his acoustic, and then you've got the bass and the drums coming in right after that as well. Muddy's preaching here. Just fantastic. I put great interplay between guitars. This is one of the ones on the album where you will get some nice interplay between Muddy and Buddy and how they're playing off of each other. It gives you chills. Really, really good. All right, side 2 now. Hey everybody, I just want to say thank you. Thank you so much for coming to the Modest Audiophile channel and checking this out. If this is your first time here, thanks. I'm glad you found your way here. While you're here, take a look around. You might find another review that you like. And for those that are returning for a second, third, or fourth visit, thanks a lot. Without you, I wouldn't be here. So thank you so much. If you want to support the channel, hey, hit like if you like this content. And if you want to further support the channel, it's free. Go ahead, go down there and hit the subscribe button. I really appreciate it. I'm getting really close to 500 subscribers, and nothing would make me happier as if I hit that pretty quickly. So thank you. Outside of all that nonsense, hey, let's get back to Muddy and the boys and finish off this album. Sides 2 starts with Cold Weather Blues. Again, this is just Buddy and Muddy in the room. Buddy has Buddy has an outstanding guitar intro to this song. Coming out of the right-hand side of the soundstage, you get that in-the-room feeling with this song, maybe a little bit more than some of the others. I mean, every song on this album you feel like you're there, but this one in particular just sounds a little bit better. Muddy's thumb is hitting those bass lines on his acoustic to interplay with Buddy on the right side of the soundstage with his lead playing. When Muddy's not hitting it with his thumb, you can hear his fingernails cracking upside against the lower bout of the guitar. Again, either to accentuate a phrase he's saying or to keep time, and it's so audible. It's really fantastic. Buddy's fingers are all over the fretboard on this one, really showing off his talents pretty good on this particular song. Gives you goosebumps. This is one of the better songs, and they're all great songs, but I really enjoyed this song. And I put, I love this line, I'm going south and let this winter pass on by. I'm going south and let this winter pass on by. Yeah, I get it. It's October 15th, October 16th today. Leaves are falling. Yeah, winter's coming. I want to go south and let this winter pass on by. All right. Then we go into the second song on side 2, which is called Big Leg Woman, and this was written by John Temple. This one, again, is just Muddy and Buddy playing in the room. Great lyrics I put. You've heard some of these phrases before from some of those we'll call British invasion bands, or wave 2 of the British invasion bands. It's a real fun song. Muddy's snapping his fingers. You can see the smile on his face. A real enjoyable song to listen to. The line, roll your belly like you roll your belly like you roll your dough. Love it, love it. So the third song on the second side is called Country Boy. Once again, all 4 band members are in here. You've got the bass and the drums on the left side of the soundstage. You've got Buddy Guy coming out of the right-hand side of the soundstage, and Muddy's in the center with his guitar and vocals. This is more of a slowed down country blues, right, Delta blues song. I put killer echo on Muddy's powerful vocals. Again, his vocals becoming another instrument once again into the recording. There is a link I'm going to put at the bottom here in the description by a person that had an outstanding write-up of this entire album. So if you're looking for a really good deep dive on the history of the actual recording studio and all the artists and all of that, just an absolutely fantastic read. Take a look at the link below. I say that because they actually designed in the studio themselves an echo chamber, and this album supposedly is pretty renowned for that echo chamber, and they use that as a tool as well in the overall recording of this, and you hear it so well on this song with Muddy's vocals. It's natural. It fills the room. Muddy's vocals in this case fill the room. Outstanding song. And the last song on this album is called Feel Like Going Home. It's like saving the best for last. And right now I'm going to read you a real quick piece from that that person who wrote that article that I mentioned. His name is Wayne Goins. And again, go check his write-up, his article in the description below. Fantastic. If you really want to drill down on Muddy Waters and folk singer in particular and the recording at this particular studio, go take a read. It's wonderful. Feel Like Going Home is Muddy all by himself, solo. He's big and full. In this case, the guitar is coming out of the left side of the soundstage. Hearing this for the first time, like, whoa, that's different, right? Because Muddy was always in the center, and in this case, it's him all by himself. His vocals are coming out of the center, and the guitar is coming out of the left, but yet the overall soundstage is open to you, if you know what I mean. You can hear the air and space on the right-hand side of the soundstage, even though there's no instruments there. All right, so let me read this really quick from Wayne Goins. Quote, "This is the strongest tune ever, and it's amazing that he seemed to have saved the best for last. It's a rare thing to hear someone in the studio releasing that kind of power. Most recordings capture the artist fully aware of their surroundings. What you're hearing now is a rare thing. Muddy forgetting himself and going inside himself. He's left us for a minute, and he's gone. We hear what's left of him after the fact, but at that moment, he's a ghost. What you also hear is him having the greatest time being gone. Outer body experience. You can hear him smiling, grimacing, mouth twisting, shaking his head, chin, lips, mouth, throat tremors. That's how he gets the syllables, tones, curled vowels, unending, unearthly, and unfamiliar trails of mellissimas attached to the end of familiar words." Whew! Yeah. Like I said, go read his article in the description that I'll leave down below here. Woo! Fantastic article, and the man has a way with words, far better than I will ever have. Yeah, like I said, it's him by himself, Muddy, in this song. You can hear everything. It's like, again, I'm sitting here, Muddy's sitting right where you are, and you hear the guitar, you hear the string scrapes. You hear the feet tapping on the floor coming out of the left side of the soundstage. You hear the slide, the strings giving way under the slide. Muddy's vocals are as smooth as butter on this thing. Yeah, it's fantastic. It really is. Absolutely fantastic record. So, where does that leave us? Well, I bought the 33 RPM for $39.99. Now, there are a couple other variants out there, I guess you call them variants, that you can purchase. They're a little bit more expensive. But for my ears, in my listening space, on my modestly priced system, again, read in the description below from what I'm listening to this on, I don't know if you can get much more out of this. You might be able to get a bit more air and space out of this, but man, for the 33 RPM, for $39.99 for 40 bucks, this is the one I'm going to stick with. This is fantastic. What a great listen. Now, for the Analogue Productions 45 RPM, that one is $20 more at $59.99. All right? I knew about that. This next one I didn't know about. So Mobile Fidelity has an Ultra Disc 1-step out on this album as well. And that one's a bit more. That one's $124.99, so 125 bucks for that. Again, is there that much of a difference from 125 for the 1-step versus the $40 I paid for the 33 and a third RPM? I'm sure there's a difference, but I don't know if it's that much of a difference. Anyway, if you're like me and you look at this from a modest perspective, yeah, the 33 and the third is absolutely fantastic. You get that intimate in-room feeling that that really can't be beat. It's fantastic. All right, everybody, that's it. I really appreciate your time today. If you have an itch that needs scratching like I did on this album and you've been wondering about it for quite some time but didn't know if it was worth the money, well, now you have an option at a 33 and a third RPM for $40. Certainly beats the 60 for a 45 RPM or 125 for a 1-step. This is fabulous. I got so much enjoyment out of this. It truly does feel like you are in the room. So yeah, go out there, try to find this thing, place an order, get it shipped to you, plan on what day you're gonna wanna listen to this, because you matter. If you don't do it now, when are you gonna do it? Chores stack up, stuff you're gonna do for the kids stacks up, fall yard pickup stacks up. Schedule some time for you. Grab your favorite beverage, whatever it may wind up being, put this on the turntable, dim the lights a little bit, and enjoy yourself for the next 35 minutes or so. That's it. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it, and I will be back soon with the third album that I needed to find out what all the hubbub was about. All right, take care, everybody. Thanks for watching. Bye.